Hi, and welcome to our road trip around Westerham and the Weald of Kent. This is part one of a two-part series. We're in the southeast of England, in the county of Kent. This circular route is around 25 miles or 40 kilometres. We're starting our journey from Junction 5 of the M25, where we'll briefly join the A21 and the A25. Our first stop will be the National Trust Emmetts Gardens. Then we will head on to the National Trust village of Chiddingstone, before completing part one of this journey at Hever Castle. In part two we're heading to Edinbridge before cutting across to Winston Churchill's former home of Chartwell. Then we'll head to Westerham and have a quick look round, as well as taking a look at Quebec House. We complete the loop by heading back along the A25 towards Sundridge. So let's start with the M25, heading south from the Dartford crossing. As we reach Junction 5, we stay right in lanes 2 or 3, heading onto the A21 towards Sevenoaks and Hastings. We're only on the A21 for about a mile before taking the A25 towards Westerham. The brown tourist signs guide you towards Chartwell. Remember, it's the second junction and it appears quite quickly after the first. We are now going to follow the A25 west for a relatively short distance. Stick to the left-hand lane. You have right of way, but be wary of vehicles approaching from the A25 that need to switch into your lane. We arrive on the outskirts of Sundridge, a rather charming town on the A25 which we'll see more of in part 2. Why not subscribe so you don't miss that or any of our future travels? At the junction with the White Horse pub, we'll be turning left onto Church Road. A little additional information about this video: it was shot on a Thursday in mid-March, hence the low winter sun, and our visits to Emmetts Gardens and Hever Castle were captured at different times of the year. This half of the journey is around 14 miles or about 23k. I will speed up the action in places, but I will slow it down for the junctions, making it easier to follow. You can drive this route in a day and maybe stop at 1 or 2 destinations, or split it over several days to get the most out of your visit to Kent. You will notice that this route is popular with cyclists, and if you wish to pick up the loop, then the only mainline station on it is Edinbridge. Now you may have noticed the road has narrowed, and this can lead to some interesting situations. All you need to do is find a convenient place to pass. That was easy enough. And then, in the blink of an eye, we arrive at the National Trust Emmetts Garden, just here on the right. I will pop a link in the description to the National Trust page on Emmetts Garden, where you can find details of the current prices. So this was captured in a visit in late September, and Emmetts is a great place to bring a picnic. Of course it has a cafe too. One of the features of Emmetts is its rock garden. I just need to find a way in. A stroll through here and you'll find plants from around the world. And at this time of the year, its beautiful acres look amazing. Emmetts Garden was part of an Edwardian estate purchased by Frederick Lubbock, a 19th century London banker. He was a keen plantsman, so set about creating his garden with species collected from around the world. After his death in 1927, Charles Watson Boise bought the estate, and in 1964 he bequeathed it to the National Trust. Another must-see area is the Rose Garden. The building on the hill is the original Emmetts house and is now privately owned. Other areas to explore are the Alpine or North Garden, the Tulip and Cherry Tree Garden, the South Garden with its exotic shrubs, the woodland walks with the bluebell banks, which must look amazing in early May. And then there's those views over the Weald of Kent. Emmetts Gardens could soak up a bit of time on your road trip, so you need to plan carefully. Heading back, we come across the Discovery Cabin again, which gives you further information on Emmetts Garden and those associated with its creation. Back to the ticket office and gift shop before continuing on our way. So we head out the gates and turn right, or you can continue straight on if you've opted to skip Emmetts Gardens. It's now a relatively short hop to the village of Ide Hill, which first appears in public records in 1250 and has grown a little over the years. I have to be honest, I find the upcoming junction a little strange. Can anyone explain to me why a mini roundabout is required when the only other road leads to the church? Anyway, we indicate left as we're taking the first junction. And time for a little fact. St Mary's Church is said to be the highest in Kent at 216 metres above sea level. We now pass the Cock Inn on our left. Come on, you know you're better than that. But now I'm going to speed it up a bit. And now I'm going to slow it down again as we reach the end of the road. We're going to turn right, and you need to trust me as there's no signpost. We're making our way towards Chiddingstone village. You do need to take care if you are following signs, because there's also a Chiddingstone causeway and a Chiddingstone Hoath. Our destination is the National Trust village of Chiddingstone, but not before crossing the Bough Beech Reservoir. We do need to take care and not miss this little turning on our left for Winkhurst Green and Tunbridge. And again another interesting junction. Follow the road round to the right. Some information about the Bough Beech Reservoir. It is owned and operated by SES Water, and until recently was home to a nature reserve run by the Kent Wildlife Trust. It's still a wildlife haven and attracts birds and bird watchers alike. If you love exploring, I cannot recommend the OS Maps app enough. Access to detailed maps with public rights of way at your fingertips. I'll pop a link in the description so you can find out more. Our next junction, and we're heading right. Again, no signpost to assist us. It is another short section before we turn left in front of this Kentish host house. That's the building with a conical shaped roof with a white top that would have rotated with the wind. Once a common sight in Kent and the southeast of England, built for the drying and storing of hops used in the brewing process, now more likely to be converted into homes. And our next turn, this time to the right and signposted for Chiddingstone, and a tourist sign for Chiddingstone Castle. And now we've across the railway line that runs into Edenbridge, and today a very special train is running on this line, the Flying Scotsman. Unfortunately, no time for us to stop and catch a glimpse. Hopefully you're enjoying the trip. Don't forget to give us a like, it means a lot, and why not subscribe to follow along. And now another bridge, this one over the River Eden on its way to join the River Medway. We will meet up again when we reach Edenbridge. On our right we're passing Larkin's Brewery, a low volume independent brewer that grows its own hops. And here's another oast house. At this junction we're turning right. And now we reach the outskirts of Chiddingstone, and we spot the first problem: parking. So let's drive through and see if we can find a space. So as I mentioned, this is a National Trust village. I'll pop a link in the description to their page on Chiddingstone. The National Trust bought this village in 1939 and own everything except the school, the church and the castle. The National Trust consider it as the best example of a Tudor village left in the country. The original High Street would have continued straight on, but I'll explain why we are now heading around to the right in a moment. I think I've spotted a parking space, and this is 11 AM on a Thursday morning. And that is the Castle Inn. And this is St Mary's Church. It has 13th century origins, but was substantially rebuilt in the 14th century, with the West Tower added in the 15th. A lightning strike in 1624 destroyed all but the tower. The church was rebuilt and rededicated in 1629. Of course, we have to wander through the cemetery. Anyone who knows Janice knows there's no avoiding that. It may not surprise you, but Chiddingstone has been in the movies, the most notable being A Room with a View. There's something rather beautiful about this historic village. Now let's go and discover the Chiddingstone. Is this the Chiddingstone? I've heard it's an actual thing. No, this is the Chiddingstone. But what is it? Legend has it it's a druid's altar, an Anglo-Saxon boundary marker, or a place of punishment for nagging wives. Who knows? I don't for sure. So what do we know about Chiddingstone? Well, it was given to Bishop Odo in 1072, an ally of William the Conqueror, and it appears in the Domesday Book. Anne Boleyn's father bought a property in Chiddingstone before the family fell out of favour. The Streatfields built a house on the High Street in 1584 that many years later would become the castle. In the 1800s, Henry Streatfield changed the High Street so the riffraff would not encroach on his property, the castle, hence the sharp turn at the end of the street. This is the Castle Inn, where you can sample some of Larkin's beers. You know it hasn't travelled far. Actually, I was good. Driving and all, I missed the opportunity. Let's go and take a look at the castle. And I should mention it's not a real castle. It was never built to defend anything, just a rather grand manor house. Its last private owner, Dennis Eyre Bauer, bought the castle in 1955 as a place to house his private art collection. And when he died in 1977, he wanted to leave it to the National Trust, but they declined as it did not come with an endowment. Instead, it passed to a charitable trust. It still houses the art collection today, and you can visit on specific dates. Once again, I'll drop a link in the description with more details. And you may notice at the end of the lake is a small bridge. We'll be crossing that in a moment as we uncover a little tip for you. So what do you think? Is Chiddingstone worth a visit? leave us a comment, we'd love to know. So we're back in the car again and about to head to our final destination of this half, Hever Castle. But let me show you something before we leave Chiddingstone. We are continuing in the same direction of travel, and we're now about to cross that small stone bridge at the end of the castle lake. If we continue up to the crossroads and turn left, follow this road up and again turn left at the signpost for Chiddingstone Castle. You'll find an adequately sized car park that's just a short walk from the village centre. There's an honesty box with a suggestion for a £3 donation. I think that's fair, don't you? And why not treat yourself to a nice cup of tea and a slice of cake at the castle tea room? Geez, I'm starting to sound like Wurzel Gummidge now. Okay, time to get back onto our route. Heading back to the crossroads, and we're going to be going straight across. If you've left the village, you'll be turning right. That reminds me, I must put together a video on sucking eggs. At the junction we'll be turning left, following the signs for Hever, Edenbridge and Westerham. The next junction is not difficult, you just need to be aware of it. In essence, we're going straight on, past the Wheatsheaf pub, so a left turn of sorts. The menu at the Wheatsheaf looks good, but their website doesn't mention its beers. Always an oversight in my mind. And there's another of those oast houses on our left. I'm loving the open road on a day like today, just like the two motorcyclists up ahead. So are you tempted so far? If not, then we have one more place to show you on this half of the road trip, and that's Hever Castle. And it should be over here to our left. At busy times you may be redirected to the overflow car park on the right. So another look from a previous visit, and I'll pop the full video for that up at the end. For now, let's take a little look around. This was the childhood home of Anne Boleyn, and one of the places Henry VIII would have tried to woo her. I'll pop a link in the description to the Hever Castle and Gardens site where you can find the ticket prices. There are a couple of options, a ticket for a castle and gardens or just the gardens. If you've not been before, we would recommend the joint ticket because the castle is certainly worth visiting, but the gardens on their own are a magnificent sight. And if you do want to make this your stopover location, then I'll put a link in the description to a couple of places that I think you'll love. Anyway, that brings this half of the road trip to a close. I really hope you like what we put together. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss part 2. Until then, stay safe, stay well and happy travels.